Welcome back to the It's Too Easy podcast with the Lenny Bros, back for another week of college and NFL. Jake, kick us off with the slate this week.
Yep. So had a decent week last week. NFL absolutely went off. I think it was like 11-4, something like that. College not so hot, but stuck above 500 at the 8-7 level. Hopefully, going to kick that up a notch. Can get back more into the winning column this week in college. But NFL just kind of looking to kind of keep that momentum rolling. But yeah, first college game is Maryland and Oregon. Maryland, I think, is getting or Oregon's getting a 25 or 26 point line. I'm going to buy it up to 28.5 and take Maryland. I don't think they're a bad team. They beat USC a couple weeks ago, and I think they're going to be able to keep it within 4 scores against the Ducks.
Yeah, I'm kind of leaning on buying it to the 24 mark and taking Oregon to cover 24. I do think Oregon's a very good football team. Just beat a good team in Michigan. I mean, not great, but good team by 21. So I think they're definitely going to be able to cover 24 at Maryland.
Yeah, one thing I am thinking about a lot is we are going to be missing Tez Johnson, I think, for
That's
maybe
true.
2 weeks. So I do think that there is a chance that Maryland's defense gives us a little bit of trouble here and there. So if they can get a few punts, they should keep it within 4 scores. But we'll see. Miami at Georgia Tech. I'm going to buy it down from 11 to 9.5. I do like this Miami team. I think they just got their first ranking at 4 or in the top 5 at 4. I do think they're a really good team. I do think that they need to figure it out defensively. They're not a very strong team on the defensive side of the ball, so they need to not have to rely on Cam Ward every game in a shootout. So until we can see that defense really show up, I'm not too stricken on them doing well in the playoff, but I do think they handled Georgia Tech pretty well, at least enough to cover 9.5 points.
Yeah, I'm not going to touch this one. My initial thought was Georgia Tech plus the 11, but I did see them, at least without their quarterback, against Notre Dame, and they looked pretty bad. I mean, at least towards the end of the game, they kept it close before that. Not sure what that's going to look like QB situation wise. Miami's been putting up a lot of points. I do think this might be on the lower scoring side. I don't see them putting up over 30 against Georgia Tech's defense, which has been pretty solid, especially against the run. But obviously, Xavier Restrepo and a couple other guys out there are able to catch the ball and move it with Miami.
Yep, for sure. And then we got West Virginia going in to play Cincinnati. I was a little hesitant on this at first, but then I kind of looked at Cincinnati's record, and they've had a couple tough games that they've looked good in. So I'm just going to take them 4.5 points at home. I do think they are a better team at home, and West Virginia has struggled. I think they're 4-4 with Garrett Green. So I don't really trust them too much. I do think Cincinnati is a little bit better program overall right now. So I'm going to stick with them at -4.5.
Yeah, these teams are about the same level of how good they are. So my immediate thought is just go to whoever the home team is, which is Cincinnati this week. I do think that Emory Jones is a little bit better quarterback overall, just being able to be a dual threat compared to Garrett Green. So I'm going to take Cincinnati money line, but I think I will take the -4 as well.
Yeah, for sure. And then we got probably one of the games of the week. Got Georgia going in to play Ole Miss this week. I'm just going to stick with Georgia money line. I don't like them on the points this week. I think it's just a game where it's going to be a really gritty game. A lot of Georgia's games haven't looked pretty this year. I don't know if this will be the same. I do expect they'll probably have a lead the majority of this game just by how good their defense is. And they do play a lot better in the bigger games. It seems so. I do think that Georgia should be able to take care of Ole Miss.
Yep, I think Georgia wins this, knocks out Ole Miss from the college football playoff. Hypothetically, it'll probably
Yeah.
call it quits. I don't think Ole Miss's team is that good this year. Trey Harris has been out, which is their wide receiver one for a while. Granted, Ole Miss's offense has still looked phenomenal, but Georgia's defense has been looking good. The only thing that worries me is Carson Beck has been a turnover machine this year,
Yeah.
with 11 picks already on the season. But I still think Kirby Smart's going to have that team playing good enough to get the job done on the road.
Yep, I like that. And then we got Michigan on the road against Indiana, and Indiana's an absolute wagon at 9-0. We've been talking about them a little bit more week after week, the last few weeks. I'm just going to stick with Indiana money line. I do think Michigan's defense is enough to give them possibly a little bit of trouble, but I still think Indiana as a team will cohesively come together and be able to win that game.
Yep, again on this one, not really much of a lean. I do feel like Indiana's been a wagon with that. I think at some point they're due for a loss. I know they do have Ohio State. We were talking about
Yeah.
coming up. So I think that could be the one. But Signetti did say before the season started in a rally for the whole school that they even will beat Ohio State this year. So interested to see how that goes. I do think that they win the game. Not sure if I like the 14-point spread, so I'm going to stay away this week.
Right on. And then next we got Army at North Texas. Army's only getting 5.5 points, and I do think they're a really good team this year. I've liked the way they've ran the ball specifically so far. So I'm just going to stick with them -5.5. I don't think it's enough points. I'll probably cover 2 or 3 scores in this one.
Yeah, I definitely like both Army and Navy. We've been talking about it for a few weeks. They both have good programs running the football. Army as well has been throwing the ball effectively this year. And so they are a scary team, and I think that they should be able to take care of North Texas at home.
Yes, sir. And then we got Clemson as the away team in Virginia Tech. Tough place to
Mhm.
play, but I do like Clemson this game. They had a tough game last week against Louisville. You kind of talked about that. Could have been a back and forth game. I ended up sticking with Clemson, but man, I was on the wrong side of that. But yeah, honestly, Clemson this week, expecting them to bounce back here against Virginia Tech. It is going to be a tough environment. But yeah, I expect them to be able to come out and play. Cade Klubnik's still got something to play for here.
Yeah, definitely. I think Clemson still has a chance at making the college football playoff. It does require them to win out, and I don't think that this will be too much of a problem for them. I'm not sure if Kyron Jones is playing. I think he actually is out for Virginia Tech again, so they'll be with a backup. I think the line was at 5.5 when I saw it last. I think Clemson covers that. Also, one of my favorite plays right now is to go take Clemson to win the ACC because I believe it was Syracuse and Miami that were both ahead of them, or maybe it was Louisville, Syracuse. And so the odd, or no, it was SMU. That's what it was. So SMU and Miami are the two favorites to come out, obviously make the playoff there.
Yeah.
But if one of them loses, that opens up the door for Clemson to have a shot at the ACC championship, which I think they would win and then get into the college football playoff. So on the off chance that we get a Miami or SMU loss, which both have kind of been due for one,
Yeah.
um, I do think plus 850 is great value to have Clemson go into ACC.
Yeah, for sure. And then a game that you're thinking about going to next week, obviously, there in North Carolina, got Duke and North Carolina State. I'm just going to stick with the underdog in this game. Duke's looked pretty good the last couple of weeks. I like the way their team's playing. I think they're well coached. So I think there's a good shot that they walk into NC State and get a dub.
Yeah, I'm not too sure if I'm gonna be able to make it out there yet. Definitely want to get out to Carter Finley. NC State plays a lot better at home. 3 points against Duke is an interesting line. I think it will be a close game. Duke obviously has looked pretty good the last couple weeks. They finally had a couple losses. But if I went and if I had to bet on it, I would be taking NC State money line.
Right
Let's go
on. Then
one
we got
back.
we got Oregon State at home against San Jose State. Not too much to say about this. I don't really think both these teams are anything special. Do have a friend on one on the San Jose State team, so go Jackson. But I
Go
do think
Jackson.
Oregon State's going to end up being the better team, so I'm just going to stick with them on the money line.
Yeah, I think Oregon State should be able to win this one. They're 4-4. I think San Jose State's 5-3. Had some injuries, haven't looked too great. I think it's in Corvallis as well.
Yeah.
So I definitely think Oregon State should win that at home.
Yep. And then we got Colorado going into Texas Tech, going to play a Big 12 game. Honestly, I'm going to stick with Colorado -3.5. They've kind of been our dark horse this year. We knew, second year at Colorado, Shador and Dion would have a little bit better grip on kind of what's going on with that team. And they obviously were able to go to the portal and get a lot of new guys and kind of build a newer team for this season. They look a lot better, especially in the Big 12. So yeah, I'm just going to stick with them -3.5. I feel like they're probably going to be the more talented team here against Texas Tech, and Travis Hunter does Travis Hunter things, and they'll probably cover that.
Yeah, it's he's up to the favorite now for the Heisman. Obviously, JT's only had 150 yards the last few games. Only 150 as an animal.
Yeah,
But yeah, no, it's a weird one for me. I think 3.5 as a road is kind of tough for a team that doesn't have great defense. So I'm kind of leaning on that plus 3.5 at home. But I think I'm going to stick with Colorado money line. Um, they are 6-2 with a chance to make it to 7-2, and if they could somehow stay undefeated, and they might have a shot at the college football playoffs. So on the off chance that happens, I think that they'll win a good away game against a decent Texas Tech team.
Yeah, for sure. And then had a team that had a big win at home last week, South Carolina, going into Vandy this week. Vandy's home underdogs against that team. Obviously, South Carolina hasn't been getting a whole lot of love this season, but Vandy hasn't either. And I believe they're 6-3 or something along those lines. They're a very good team. South Carolina, I believe, is 5-4. So this is going to be a really fun game. With Vandy being a home dog, I love that. Love that team. Them playing at home has obviously been a little bit different atmosphere this year compared to the previous years. So I'm going to take Vandy this week.
Yeah, they're getting 3.5, so I'm just going to take the 3.5. I do think that they win this game as well. It's plus 140, 145.
Yeah.
They're a good team. I mean, they beat Alabama. They almost took down Texas, or I don't know, almost is the right word, but they put up a great fight with Texas as well. So they have a good team, good program. I think Pavia is the QB over there that's having a great season.
Yeah.
So I'll take points at home.
Yeah, absolutely. And then another team we were talking about before the podcast, Arizona State. They're at home against UCF, who I believe has been struggling quite a bit this season. Arizona State's only 3-point favorites. I love the way Scadaboo's been running the ball. As long as they can keep giving him the ball, wasn't expecting him to be taking over the game. Was expecting Ollie Gordon to take over the game last week, but he got his thing done, and obviously ASU won a big game there. But yeah, I like them
Smacked
minus
them.
3 this week at home.
Yeah, you've been talking about that team a lot with Levitt this year, and then obviously Scatterby, I think, had almost 250 yards last week. Guy's an animal.
Yeah,
Excited to see what happens there. But yeah, I think 3-point favorites at home. I think they should definitely take care of business. I watched UCF a couple weeks ago versus BYU, and they got spanked. I do think they found their QB of the future. I think it's Brisk or something like that is his last name, because he came out and balled against Arizona. I think they won by 40 against
yeah,
Arizona this last
yeah.
week. RJ Harvey, their running back's a dog, so I think he'll get his. But I do think Arizona State's good enough to get the win.
Yeah, and it's probably going to be pretty warm there in Arizona, even this late in the year. So hopefully, Florida, they should be able to handle it. We'll see. Yeah, and then we got Bama and LSU, kind of the other premier game of the week, I think. Just going to take Bama money line. I trust that team's not going to lose again until possibly maybe a few games from now. But yeah, I just don't trust LSU, especially against a team this good. Brian Kelly in the big games hasn't always been the greatest, so I just think that Bama is the choice to be taking here.
Yeah, I think this is a big game for Kalen DeBoer. He's lost a couple of the big games, and so he needs to get one. And Brian Kelly obviously loses a lot of big games. Not really a Brian Kelly fan. I don't really think the LSU team's that great. Granted, Alabama's not either. With it being at LSU, it's kind of difficult, but I do think Alabama's going to get the win and keep their playoff hopes alive at least for a few more weeks. Like you said, they got, I think, 3 winnable games, and then at the end of the year, they'll have the Iron Bowl with Auburn, which is always difficult.
Yep.
Even though Auburn's not great, they struggle with them. So I do think Alabama gets the win.
Yep, for sure. And then Oklahoma and Missouri, another fun one in the SEC this week. Just going to take Mizzou money line. They're at home. I know Oklahoma's looked a lot better with Dalton Arnold as their quarterback, but I think Mizzou's defense is going to be able to get it done in this game for them. Their offense hasn't been too great over the last few weeks, but just keep my fingers crossed that they should be able to get it done this one.
Yeah, I know they've been without their running back Nate Knoll, who's a
Okay.
stud. So the last few weeks have been kind of rough. Luther Burden's been limited a lot in what he's able to do. But I do think Missouri's defense is able to step up against that team and probably come away with the win there.
Yeah. Right on. And then we got Washington, UW going into Penn State, who just had a tough loss against Ohio State last week. I think Penn State's like 14-point favorites or something like that. I'm leaning towards taking Washington plus 14. But on the flip side of that, I really do think Penn State's going to win this game. I think it's pretty much a must win. They have to maintain one loss, or else they're not going to have any chance to get into the playoff.
They only dropped, I think, 5 though in the rankings.
Yeah, I think they only dropped like 6 or 7, but I mean, there is a good shot that, if they play, I don't know exactly who else they play, but I think they have a couple other tough games.
Nobody. I
And
don't think they
nobody?
play anybody else. I
Okay.
was looking at it and I'm just like, I don't think like they should be undefeated from here on out. I think they only dropped to 5th or 6th in the rankings,
So they
or
would be able to make
6th.
it in the playoff then, even without playing
They
in the
play
Big
they
Ten
play
championship game.
Washington, and then they're at Purdue, who's 1-7, Minnesota, and Maryland.
Minnesota and Maryland. Okay, yeah, so their schedule's not
So
bad at all. So yeah, I
yeah,
mean
so this one will be
they may
interesting.
make it into the playoff without even having to play the Big Ten championship game.
Yeah,
That would
probably.
be
That's I
really
think what's
interesting,
going to happen.
and that could happen with Indiana as well. That'd be really interesting.
Hmm.
Yeah, I like them this week at home against Washington. Washington kind of leaning Washington plus 14. I feel like they're going to
Yeah,
keep it close. They obviously had a tough game against SC that they won, so they're looking a little bit better. But yeah, I don't trust them at all. So Penn State money line.
yeah. Washington, I like plus 14 as well. That's the way I was leaning. I don't think Penn State's that great. We talked about that, hence why we took Ohio State.
Yeah,
Can't win big games. But also, their defense has been great. We talked about it. They held Ohio State pretty well, but their offense just isn't that great either. Um, for that reason, I think Washington's able to put up 14 or 17 and keep it within 14.
yeah, for sure. Last couple in college football, we got Virginia going into Pitt. I think Pitt's only 6.5, 7.5 point favorites at home, maybe 8. I'm gonna buy it to 6.5. I think Pitt wins that game by a touchdown for sure. Yeah, I just like them at home. They've looked pretty solid this season.
I'm not going to touch that one. You're kind of liking Virginia a little bit earlier in the year, and I
Yeah,
don't love Pitt at all. Hence, we talked about SMU last week taking care of business, and they did, and they smacked them. So that scares me
yeah,
from taking Pitt. So I'm just going to leave that one alone this week.
true. Then last game on the slate, BYU at Utah. BYU I think is maybe 4.5 point favorites, maybe 5. I'm gonna buy it down to 3.5. I like them this week. I don't think Utah's looked great, and obviously I don't think Cam Rising's playing again, and I'd imagine he's probably going to end up trying to come back another season, but we'll see. Either way, BYU's look good, taking them minus 3.5.
Another one I don't think I'm going to touch just because it's a crosstown rivalry.
Sure.
Not really crosstown, but Bro to Salt Lake. Utah's a tough place to go play in Salt Lake. I'm sure that the fans are going to be going crazy there, and their defense hasn't looked great this year, but I feel
True.
like they'll be able to step up against BYU. So I think an underplay on that game is going to be probably my take.
Right on. Yeah, that feels good. Then kind of transitioning over to the NFL. First game on the NFL slate, the Bengals and the Ravens on Thursday night. I'm just gonna stick with what I've been going with for the rest of the season. Obviously, the Ravens are a wagon, so I'm just gonna stick with them on the money line. I feel like Derrick Henry, and when that offense is moving like a machine, they do some pretty incredible things. I feel like when they lose games, it's a lot of like self-inflicted things, like bad snap where Lamar ends up dropping the snap and doesn't end up getting a chance to make a play, or just little things like that, penalties, pre-snap penalties, things like that that just end up costing them. So as long as they minimize those things, they're at home. They should be able to beat the Bengals.
Yeah, I'm not too sure how I'm feeling on this one. My lean is definitely on the Bengals plus 7. I expect to be a shootout because both defenses are not great. The Ravens obviously have a better defense, but their pass defense has been piss poor. So I do think Burrow, Jamar Chase should be able to move the ball. Isova's has been stepping up for them as well. So I'm going to take the plus 7. You could always buy it to plus 10. I think that's a safe play. But I think the over for this game is a good play. I think there's going to be at least 54 points scored. And I
Yeah.
think the over under was at 49.5. So I think over's a safe play.
Yeah, I do like the over in that game as well. Second game, we got the Eagles and the Cowboys. So obviously, the Cowboys are in shambles. Um, Trey Wingo, I don't know if that was the move to make for a fourth rounder at the deadline, but it is what it is. Eagles money line is my pick for that game.
Yeah, I'm gonna take the Eagles minus 7. Cooper Rush's cheeks. I mean, we talked about it all off season. So I don't think the Cowboys are gonna be good this year. The Eagles are finally doing what they should, which is starting by running the football and
Yeah.
then getting the passing game going. And they've looked good doing it. So I think they cover 7.
Yep. And then kind of sticking in the division, we've got the Giants who are playing the Panthers in Germany this week. Obviously, another team in complete shambles is the Panthers. Same with the Giants, honestly, but they should be
Hey,
the better team.
Panthers might be the hottest team in football right now. They're on a one-win streak, so you never
Yeah.
know.
They beat the Aints, who just fired their coach and had Cam Jordan walk out of the
Finally,
locker room.
yeah.
But no, I mean, in all seriousness, the Giants have played pretty good when they play in Europe. So I do think I'm going to stick with them against the Panthers here. I just don't. The Panthers have now traded away a lot of their talent as well. So I just don't see a manner in which Bryce Young is able to move the ball against the Giants, especially with the Giants front four up on the defensive line.
Yep, agreed. Yeah, I don't know why the Cowboys traded for Jonathan Mingo. He's terrible. That was a horrible trade.
Yeah,
And then Giants wise, Giants I think cover five easily. I think that they're not a horrible team. I don't think they're good, but they're not horrible. Panthers are a horrible team, and they got rid of Deontay Johnson and now Jonathan Mingo. And Thielen may or may not be back. I'm not too sure yet, but I really don't think they'll be able to score more than 10 to 14. And I think the Giants should be able to put up close to 30. So I think covering five should be one of my favorite plays of the week.
right on. Yeah, love that. And then Broncos and the Chiefs. That's going to be a fun one this week. Um, Not really loving that line, but I'm going to stick with the Chiefs money line just because they've been rolling.
Yeah, I'm gonna buy it from 8.5 to 10.5. Take the Broncos. I think in a divisional, the Broncos always seem to come away with really close games against the Chiefs. And so, with how good their defense has looked and how turnover machine like Mahomes has been this year, I do think that the Broncos have a chance to keep this one close.
Yeah, for sure. And Mahomes is definitely going to be a little bit banged up with that ankle after this last game on Monday night. Um, Next game, we got the Steelers and the Commanders. Both kind of on opposite, not really opposite sides, but different sides in this one. I like the Steelers plus 3.5 in this one. I just love the way their defenses have been playing. I think the Commanders are due for a little bit of a tougher game. TJ Watt's able to make impact plays. I think Russ has made the offense look a lot better on that side of the ball. So I do think that the Steelers should be able to cover a field goal.
Yeah, I don't dislike it. I don't love the Commanders money line, but I'm just gonna take it. I can't really see 8-2, but like can't see the Steelers at 7-2 either.
Yeah,
So I'm gonna take the home team, which is the Commanders. I do like the move that the Commanders just made to go get Lattimore. That's one of the areas that they've been missing is a good corner, and they're also could use a better receiver to go with Terry. So interested
yeah.
to see if that ends up happening. If not this year in the offseason. Yeah, I'm gonna take Commanders money line.
Yeah, for sure. Then we got the Vikings going into Jacksonville and playing the Jaguars this week. Just going to stick with what I know. I do think that the Vikings are a much better team in this scenario, and -4 is not a very big number. Now they are the away team, but I do like the way they've been looking. Darnold's been a lot better, and they should be able to cover 4.
Yeah, this one's kind of weird because I keep wanting to take the Jags with the points, and they've covered, I think, for me 2 or 3 weeks in a row now.
Yeah,
Um, I kind of want to do it again, but I'm going to take the Vikings money line and just play it safe there. I do think Vikings should cover four, but I don't love it, so I'll just take Vikings money line.
yeah, right on. Then we got the Falcons and the Saints, a little in division rivalry. Falcons, I'm going to take a -3.5 there against the Saints. I don't know why that number isn't bigger yet because the Saints look like they're having some trouble right now. Obviously, a new coach can relight a little bit of fire under some of the players, but I think the Falcons are too good and the Saints are having too much trouble right now.
Yeah, I'm going to take the Falcons money line. If they go win this game, I think that puts them potentially 3 games up in the division and could basically seal it, even though there's seven
Yeah,
games left
yeah,
after that, because the Bucks I think will lose to the Niners.
yeah, and they still have a few divisional games left for sure as well that they should be able to win. Then we got the Niners and the Buccaneers next. Just gonna take the Niners money line. I think they're the better team here. The Buccaneers obviously missing Godwin and Evans, so gonna be tough to win without them.
Yeah, I think Niners win and cover. I think the line was 5.5. I think they cover that. I think they'll probably dominate this game.
Yep, right on. Then we got the Bills and the Colts. Bills, I think, are 3 or 4.5 point favorites. I do think the Colts suck. Obviously, last week was pretty rough to watch from them. Their defense did look a little bit improved with having to force Buckner back, but the Bills are an absolute wagon right now. I'm going to take them -3.5.
Yeah, this game feels very weird to me, so I'm gonna leave it alone.
Okay,
I'm kind. If I had to bet, like gun to my head, I'm taking the Colts money line in this one. I don't know why.
right on. That's probably some big money
I'm
there.
leaving it. I'm leaving it alone. So yeah,
Fair. Then we got the Pats going in to play the Bears, taking the Bears money line. Do like Drake May getting some experience. It's been pretty fun to watch him so far. At least lead the Patriots to what was a close game against the Titans. But yeah, I like the Bears in this one.
Yeah, I definitely like the Bears too. I think Eberflus is on the hot seat. I think they're expecting the Bears to be doing better, and they're not.
Yeah,
Getting spacked by the Cardinals. Yeah, they need to bounce back. So against a Patriots team that's not good, they should be able to bounce back. I still don't love six just because of Pat's D,
yeah,
but realistically, they should be able to cover six and win this game.
yeah, for sure. Then we got the Titans at the Chargers. Chargers 6.5 point or maybe 7.5 point favorites. I'm buying it to 6.5. I like the Chargers a lot. 5-3. Jim Harbaugh's got them playing good ball. They truly don't have a wide receiver one, so it's pretty incredible to watch them like play this well without a true wide receiver one. Their defense is playing incredible. I think they've generated the most turnovers in the NFL, or top three potentially. So yeah, they're a fun team to watch, and I think they're going to be able to cover 6.5 here at home against the Titans.
I'm gonna take the Titans plus 6.5. Actually, I think it's at plus seven. So I'll take
Okay.
the seven if that's what we're getting for it.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, the Titans suck, and the Chargers I think win this game, but it feels like a game to me that's like 20-17 or 23-17. Don't know
Yeah.
why. Uh, Probably won't actually bet it, but if I had to lean, it'd be on the Titans with the points.
Yeah, right on. And then last few of the NFL slate, Jets at the Cardinals. Like the way the Jets looked this past week, so I think they're going to be able to string a few together here. I don't think they have a very tough schedule remaining, so I expect them to get it done in the next few.
Yeah, and the Cardinals just won two straight, so they're hot.
Yeah, true.
Leading the division right now at 5-4. I don't think that lasts long. I think Aaron Rodgers is going to go take it from them. Uh, the Jets are getting 2 points. I'm just going to buy it up to 3.5 and take them at plus 3.5, get the field goal. But I do think that they'll also go win that game.
Yeah, right on. Then we got the Lions and the Texans. That's probably going to be my favorite game of the week. Two absolute wagons, one in the AFC, one in the NFC. I like the Lions, man. The Lions have been looking incredible. I think even without Aiden Hutchinson, their defense has just been one to watch. Like they're just incredible to watch in the secondary. I think that CJ is going to struggle a little bit in this game. There's still going to be too much pressure, and then with the secondary coverage, I just don't expect him to have too many clean looks in this game.
Yeah, and then not to mention the Lions just traded for Zadarius Smith today,
Yeah,
who
true.
will completely fill in for Hutchinson there. The Jets sacked CJ 8 times last week, and I think he got hit 14 times. Their
Yeah,
offensive line has to get it together. First it was penalties, now it's just letting CJ get hit. Still no Nico, still no Diggs. Obviously, Diggs will be out the rest of the year. I do think the Lions win this game. Don't love the 3.5 because it's in Houston, but I do think Lions win the game.
yeah, for sure. And then last game is the Monday night game. We got the Dolphins going in to play the Rams. Man, the Rams look really good so far with Puka and Cooper Cup inserted back into the lineup. But the Dolphins with Tua back in have also looked really good. Lost a couple really close games on late field goals. I like the Dolphins plus 3.5 this week. Feels like they have to get back into the win column. The Rams, I don't know if Puka has something going on with whatever happened last game. If there's any repercussions from that. But yeah, I
I
just
think
think the
it's fine.
Dolphins have a good chance this week to go in and win.
Yeah, I'm kind of leaning just like gut on Dolphins to cover that 3.5 as well. I did take the Rams to win the division at plus 1100 2 weeks ago. It's down to plus 500 now, which I think is still good value considering it's only like half a game between the whole division. They're one
Yeah,
game back, so they kind of hold it in their own hands. It's at home, so I think I'm going to take the Rams money line. But if I had a lean, I think Dolphins covered 3.5.
yeah, right on. And that wraps it up for the NFL slate. So yeah, thank you guys for tuning in. Appreciate everybody continuing to just give us a little bit of viewership here week after week. Going to start to kind of mix some things up hopefully soon with a little intro outro. Hopefully, kind of mix some things up with the podcast. Just get some new things going. But yeah, till next week, we're going to have an NBA podcast as well posted sometime as well tomorrow. So hopefully everybody will as well tune into that. NBA has been pretty exciting for the start of the season. So yeah, until then, we'll see you guys later. Peace.
So, yeah.